Welcome back to another episode of Confessions of a Recruiter. This is the most raw, vulnerable, and honest conversation me and Blake have ever had together. We talk about how we got into recruitment, how we built our little agencies, and then how we've scaled xrecruiter. There's something in it for everyone. Hope you enjoy. All right, welcome back to another episode of Confessions of a Recruiter. And this is going to be a trip down memory lane, BT.
Absolutely.
We're going back. One of our best performing episodes was that little one where we were hunched over. It was our first ever episode. But I think, a lot's happened in the last 2.5 years. So I think it's sometimes even we can forget where we've come from, what we've done with the rate in which everything's happening these days. So I thought it'd be good just to get you and I in a room and chat about what life was like before recruitment, how we got into recruitment, and how we went from being consultants to small business owners to now doing what we do with xrecruiter and helping many recruiters do the same thing. What do you reckon?
Absolutely. Sounds like a good idea. Take it away, Deck. Tell me about the history.
You always go straight to me.
Yeah, it's because I like to just follow the energy, mate, and you always set the good energy.
All right, mate. So going back, I think the first part is that memorable afternoon in the park where I first found out what recruitment is.
Yep.
I'm kicking the ball with Sean Stewart. All of a sudden this A or C series Mercedes rocks up.
I think it was like a little
C200.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's the coolest car I'd ever seen at a 23-year-old. But you get out of the car and I'm like, what's this guy doing with Josh? How are 23-year-olds rolling around in a Mercedes? I'd never seen that before. And you're kicking the footy and I'm like, what are you doing? I don't think we'd seen each other in a couple of years. And you're like, yeah, we're in recruitment. And I'm like, what's recruitment? You're like, oh, I don't know, we find people jobs. And that was my first introduction to ever hear about the industry. So, and then from there, I think I was in the seat maybe 4 weeks later.
Yeah, I think so. So we were kicking the footy down in Wilston Park.
New Farm Park.
I don't think it was New Farm Park. I think it was Wilston, wasn't it?
New Farm.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's to be debated. And then at Rock, I was already working in recruitment. I'd only been there, 12 months?
Yes. Less, yeah, 6-7 months. Yep.
And we were looking for more recruiters, as you do when you're running a small agency. Our boss at the time were like, hey, do you guys know anyone? We need more people in, blah, blah, blah. And I just fired out a bunch of random
How many messages did you send out?
Oh, maybe, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10.
Oh,
yeah.
So a pretty good strike rate.
Yeah.
You then get 2.
Yeah. And then, where were you working at the time?
Car sales at Norris Motor Group.
What were you selling?
Hyundais. Hyundai i30s, Santa Fe's.
Nice. And what attracted you to recruitment to begin with?
Oh, how did a 23-year-old have a Mercedes?
Yeah.
That was the most curious thing to me. And then it just made sense. I just sort of understood that this sounds good. The boys are doing it, so if they're doing it, it's better than doing what I'm doing. And selling cars at the time, I think it was a 10 grand pay rise straight away. So I was like, beauty. I went from 37K to 46K just from getting into recruitment. So I'm like, I've got nothing to lose. I don't have to work Saturdays and I don't have to be on the yard till 6 o'clock every night. And so I was like, this is sweet.
Love that.
Yep.
And then you got into recruitment. How was your first initiation into recruitment? Tell us about it.
Yeah, the first week was ultra intense. Even the interview process, like I didn't even understand I had to do a 90-day action plan. I think I just looked up statistics, how many placements the average recruiter makes is 2, and then everything else didn't really matter that I wrote down. But I put all of that in a plan and got the job. I said, look, I'm only going to be here for 6 months. I'm probably going to join the Navy. So I'll do what I can while I'm here. And he's like, okay, mate, like, thanks for your honesty. That's a very different career choice. Still got the job. And then I just got really lucky in my first month. I think one of the only leads we ever saw come in was with Fluid Connecto. And then it was handed over to me. I filled 2 roles at 13% and 15%. Did 29K in my first month.
What year was this?
2016.
2016. That's a long time ago.
That's 9 years
Doesn't
almost.
feel like that long ago.
Mate, you can see it on our faces.
True. You look at a video from 12 months ago to now, we look like we've aged 10 years. So what were your biggest lessons? I know we both had a short stint there, relatively speaking. But I think it was a really good training ground to set us up for the next stage of growth. What did you find the biggest lessons were when you started that agency? Tell us about it.
Being really, really proactive and having to generate all your business yourself. Like there was no, besides that one lead I got, there was no other leads that I ever got given again. Being ultra proactive, building your own hit list the night before, understanding during the day is billable hours. So you got to be doing proactive shit. Don't waste time on stuff that's not, not going to make you money. Doing your job ads at night. We'd come in on Saturdays, Sundays, prep our hit lists. I remember I'd sit there falling asleep next to Deanna when we just started dating. I was probably like 9 months into the job, and I'm falling asleep writing a hit list. And she's like, mate, where do you work? This is not normal that it's 9:30 at night and you're trying to get this hit. You're so stressed about getting a hit list together. So you got people to call the next day. I was like, it just has to happen this way. So yeah, they were probably the two biggest things is just
how did you feel at that time? Did you
I was
feel
buzzed.
You were buzzed?
Yeah, I wasn't like upset about it.
Yeah.
I was so excited. Like I remember we were chatting about potentially opening a Sydney office, and it was just like we were all 23, 24. Everyone was ripping it. You were doing really well and leading the charge, and we were all just following suit.
Yeah.
It was fun. Don't you reckon?
Yeah, I enjoyed my time there. I remember, and I don't know how much to disclose, but I remember I started. There was me, Josh, and Richo, and there was just three of us in a little serviced office, and it was probably
Was that when you're at Corby Christie?
corporate house or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Christie
Corp.
Spaces. Yeah, something like that. And
How big was the office?
it was probably, I think it could fit like 4 or 5 desks.
True.
Yeah. And I remember my first day. So intense interview process. I got asked to pitch 2 candidates for an interview. And so the only person that I knew that was in recruitment at the time was Desh. And I've called Desh and I'm like, hey mate, I'm meant to like pitch 2 resumes for an interview. I don't even know how that works. And he's like, yeah, just make up some resumes, blah, blah, blah. So I made up 2 fake people. I also made up a fake business card and put the Rock logo on it. So it like looked like I was already working there. And I think I did an okay job.
Well, mate, that's thinking outside the box.
Yeah. So I gave him a business card with my name on it. I'm like, here you go, mate. And he's like, what the fuck? And then I pitched the 2 people, and I think it was obviously a decent interview. And I remember my first day. I've walked to the office. Richard was there. He was on the phone though. Richard was like always on the phone. Like that's one thing that I really looked up to and admired. Like he was always on the phone talking to people, and like there was barely any time that he was not on the phone. And so I get there and I'm sitting there for 5-10 minutes. He's still on the phone. I'm like, fuck, what do I do? So I just started fucking calling people. And I think I made 15 calls.
Who to?
Just anyone in my contact list. I was like, I just went through my contact list and I was like, I'll call my old sales manager, I'll call my old GM, call my old boss at here, I'll call this guy. He's left my last job and now he's a sales manager there. So I think I made, probably 10 to 15 phone calls.
Did you get any jobs on?
No. But I remember Richard looking at me like, this fucking guy's on the phone already. And I'm just like, hey, mate, I think my first phone call was to a guy called Chris. He was the fleet manager of the Holden dealership at the Maruka Mile. I'm like, hey, Chris, how are you, mate? What do you do to hire people? I'm just in recruitment. I'm 10 minutes in. I need to fucking get some clients.
Mate, every time we sit down, there's always a story I've never heard.
Yeah. So I started calling him. I called my old boss at CSG, now Fujifilm. Got a job on from him. But, we already spoke about getting a job on as he gave me the reference. And I felt like it was almost too fun and too easy, especially coming from photocopiers, which, we can talk about after, but that was a really good training ground as well.
What did you do? Because I know there's a lot of recruiters, I wouldn't even think like that to just start picking up the phone because I saw my boss on the phone. There'd be so much hesitation and thought processes why not to do it. Could you explain to people how you think that way?
Say that again.
So like, I would never think like that to roll into a brand new job and just pick up the phone and start talking to people. I think 99% of people could agree with me that that's not normal. So like, how would you explain to people that being that proactive, like that's a reason why you've achieved what you've achieved. So like, more people need to learn from that.
Yeah, I think it's just like understanding the fundamental of what you're there to do, and then just like trying to do it.
What is the fundamental of being a recruiter?
Well, you're there to place people and get clients to want to work with you. Like, obviously, I'd never been through training, but I understood that, well, we need a company that wants to use our services of recruitment to find them staff. That's literally all I knew. So I just thought, okay, well, I'm just going to start calling anyone that I know who has a hiring responsibility. They might go, hey, no, we don't use recruiters or whatever, but I just need to start learning and figuring out like what people's perception is, what the conversations are like. So, and it was pretty easy because I had like 15 old people that I've either worked for in the past, worked with in the past, had a good relationship with. So I just called like 10 or 15 people I already knew and just started asking if they've ever used a recruiter, do they have a role, and just started like getting into it. And then obviously, you know, when he got off the phone, he's like, mate, what have you been doing? And because I remember at the time, it took me a while to figure out how to actually dial out, because you got to press 0 first and then the number. And I'm like trying to call and I'm fucking stuck and I'm like, it's not dialing out. And then I finally worked out that you got to press 0 first and then dial the number and then do the outbound calls. He's like, mate, what were you doing? I was like, I don't know, I was just calling people, seeing if they need recruitment. He's like, yeah, okay, mate, we've got to do some training first. But I think that was a really good, like, funny, like, moment that I look back on now and I go, fuck, I was actually being a bit of a hustler at the time. But it was, it was super fun and it was far easier than selling photocopiers. So I felt like, similar to you, going photocopiers com only to, I had a 55K salary was my starting salary. And I thought,
that always icked me that I got jibbed.
I'm surprised you only got 45, mate. But I got 55 and I thought, wow, I'm rich. I don't even need to earn comms. I'm fucking getting a sick salary. And so like, I wasn't even in a spot where I was like desperate for commissions. I was like, well, I'm already earning great money.
Yeah.
I can just focus on learning and being the best recruiter I can be.
Yeah.
And I think that's what helped me just try to dial into my craft, is because I felt like I was already well ahead of the curve financially with a 55K salary. And then commissions was just like a nice little bonus.
Yep.
So, okay, so that was your time when you first got into recruitment. Walk us through like the thought process on starting Blended, because you started Blended pretty quickly after you got into recruitment. Walk us through that.
So yeah, it was 2 months or 2 years, like July 3rd. It was pretty much almost 2 years to the date in which I started Blended, in which I started in recruitment. So it was, I was about to be made a manager, divisional manager, and we're going through the recruitment process. And then one of my family friends was like, I went to him, how I can be a better manager, how I can do this, you know, how I can, LinkedIn was getting a little bit popular. I'd post a couple of photos, got like 10, 11,000 impressions. I'm like, we need to be posting more on LinkedIn, and just of us in the office. And so then from there, I then caught up with Scroggs, and he's like, mate, why don't you just do it for yourself? I had zero recruitment experience before I started Chefs on the Run. And I'm like, yeah, but mate, you're a bit different to me. Like, I'm about to get another juicy pay rise and manage people, and I don't think so. He's like, no, mate, I'll give you the guidance and help you do it. I'm like, yeah, well, I guess Blake's done it, so it can't be that hard. And it was a bit of like what your mum did to you, pretty much Scroggs did to me. And he's like, no, mate. And I was like, all right, well, it's going to take a while for me to work all this stuff out, get prepared. So that was in February, and then I didn't go live until July when I actually resigned.
Okay, so 5 months it took to get your house in order to do it.
Yep.
What was the mindset going through that 5 months? How did you feel knowing you were setting up an agency in your spare time? Did it demotivate you? Did it motivate you? Did you feel awkward at work?
Yeah, it felt awkward because you're not being truly honest, but then you're also, it's a little bit hard. You sort of caught between two roads because you always want to be true to yourself and be honest with people, but then you can't be too honest. So it was a tricky 5 months. I was still doing all right. And then like moved in with Deanna pretty quick as well. I think like the July before. So yeah, we'd been living together for 6 months. They're like, yeah, we're starting a business. And then the advice at the time was like, cut all costs. You got to move back home. So like, you know, we were in Hawaii in December, having Hawaii and Tasmania in the Christmas holidays. And then by February, we're bunking down, getting everything ready, not renewing the lease. Used to live in an awesome little apartment near the Breaky Creek, and then scale back life pretty quick. No more cocktail nights and traveling around.
Was that good advice?
No.
Why?
Because I think it kept me thinking small. Like it then trickled, like I kept thinking like, how much do I say? How can I save more, instead of having like more of an abundance mindset where I've got to make more. So there is like, you know, we were laughing the other day about opportunity costs. You can only push so far until you actually run out of money before you've outsourced everything. So this was probably the complete opposite to that, where I'm trying to save absolutely every penny and do it the cheapest way possible. So that's probably what I wouldn't suggest. I'd find a happy median.
So I'd be interested to learn, like, what were the biggest struggles at Blended? Now we've got hindsight, amazing. We can reflect back and go, this was a really interesting moment. I wish I did this a little bit better. If I had my time again, this is how I would do things differently. Can you walk us through your reflections on Blended and what was interesting, what you'd change?
Yeah, so I started in a 6x3 square meter office. It was completely glass in a corporate house serviced office. It's not like funky WeWork. It's like this old corporate setting. I think they've updated it now, but back in 2018, that's what it was. So I'd have this tiny little office. Scroggs is like, all right, you've got to put a map of Australia up on the wall because you're going to put this country all around Australia. I'm like, am I? I feel like I'm just trying to get to my first placement, let alone worrying about building a national business. But I had it up there, and that's what I was trying to tell myself. And then it was just so lonely. Like I'd have him sit out the front of my office. We'd have the door etched open, and he would sit there in a chair, and I'd just be cold calling, getting rejected all day. And then it was just, no one was around. Like it was the most lonely thing ever. I'd find myself calling. I'd call Deanna, I'd call Dallas, Mattioli, and just confide in them as to how they're doing, what they're doing, just to avoid picking up the phone, because I'm just going to get rejected like 70 times before someone says something. Because the advice at the time was, tell them you're a recruiter and you've got great candidates. And I'm like, I don't think that's going to work. So
why did you change your strategy when you started your business to when you were recruiting for 2 years prior at Rock?
Because of the new advice I got at the time.
Okay.
I valued that more than what I had been doing.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until like a year after that where I actually changed the script, started doing it traditional recruitment, where I started getting way better results. Focused a lot of energy on social media. Like I think in my first year of business, I got like 2 million impressions on LinkedIn, which was huge. Got in Courier Mail, Channel 7, Sky News, ABC Radio, like all that stuff was set, which is the fun stuff we do now. But we weren't focused on that when we started xrecruiter. So like, but I focused that heavily. I remember Ephraim and Manisha, we would record our impressions each week as opposed to recording our send outs.
Really?
That's how much Scroggs like, yeah, this is the way. I'm like, mate. And then my fees was so small. I was charging like, my first fee was $2,000. My next fee was $4,000. My next fee got up to $7,000. I hovered around $7,000 for a while until this guy called me Purple Bricks and said, hey, like, you're so cheap, you'll be out of business soon. So yeah, probably being lonely, undercutting the market was really bad. Focusing on media, personal branding, marketing way too much, and not focusing on having a core business. They're probably the 4 areas which I reflect on, which really let me down.
Okay, so let's say Declan's having another crack. Blended 2.0. How do you solve the loneliness? What would you have done differently to not feel so lonely? Because I'm sure there's recruiters out there that are running their business right now that feel lonely. So Declan, as he is today, like how is he going to solve being lonely, starting his business from scratch?
So I would find people that are 1 to 2 years ahead of me, and then I would reach out and go, hey, this is where I'm feeling, because likely they felt the same thing when they started, but they got through it. Yeah. So I'd reach out to them and go, hey, I've just started in business. I'm 3-4 months in. I'm finding this really lonely. It's really boring in this office. There's no one else around me. Could I come work out of your office for 1 day a week? How about we just catch up for a coffee, and build
Yep.
a relationship. I'd only do it with like 2 or 3 people. I wouldn't waste too much energy on it. Whoever said yes, I'll just go on LinkedIn, go, you know, who's a business director of an small agency.
Yeah. How would you figure out who to? Is there some sort of criteria? Like what?
Yeah, I'll just
Or
go
is
on,
it just like, oh, you know what, someone that looks good, just reach out to them and
I'd go on LinkedIn Recruiter, put in a Boolean search, small business or an agency director, 0 to 2 staff, or whatever the minimum is, or 0 staff. And then I'd reach out to them, minimum 2 years in business. And then I'd go, hey, I'm feeling really lonely. Can we catch up for a coffee? Love to pick your brain.
Yep.
Like what you did with Sean, but I'd just scale it all the way back. So I'd find them more relatable.
Yep.
To me, that's how I'd fix the loneliness.
Yep. Okay. What was the second thing?
The personal branding, overdoing that.
Yep.
So,
Talk to us about that.
so it was,
Why would you change that?
I don't think you let me explain how focused we were on it. It was like we were writing letters every day, we were posting every day, we were doing videos, multiple videos a day. Like all of that it opens amazing opportunities, but it wasn't targeted. It wasn't focused on the right demographic. It was just spray and pray, putting it out there. It was an awesome message, fighting for small business and all this stuff, but a lot of people were confused by what I was talking about. So if you can do a targeted approach, focus on your core niche and market to them as opposed to trying to market to everyone, then it would be better.
So how much time per day was getting consumed by trying to do this marketing stuff?
I think actual time of delivery would be between 1 hour.
Yep.
But like mental planning, the thought of it, always checking LinkedIn, looking at impressions, like, yeah, you could take up 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
Just on doing that, getting replies, going to meetings, going to small business stuff.
So what would you do differently?
I would just focus on mapping my market, focus on like the 80-20 rule, finding the top 20 businesses within my niche and focus on directly marketing to them. And then focus everything on building my actual business, like the metrics that matter, outcomes that matter, getting really dialed in on what are my jobs on, what are my client meetings, what are my jobs on, what interviews are with in front of clients, and what deals am I doing. That's really all that matters, those 4 things. And then I'll just post daily and say, you know, just one post, whether it be a status, a photo or a video, keep it really simple.
Yeah. So I guess just to kind of like tie a bow on this, what would be like the overarching advice for recruiters who are either currently a recruiter thinking about going on their own or they've just started? Like what's the one piece of advice that you think would either help them think differently or focus on what matters?
Osmosis, you're 15 or 30% better when you're around people. So get around other recruiters, be in the same room. There's a reason why we did so well because we were all together. There's a reason why I did so bad when I went out on my own because I was just me.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, the analogy of being in a boxer. Everyone's got a cornerman. And then also just really focus on the outcomes that matter. Don't get caught up in social media. Like, it's just not worth it.
Love that. And so now Geordie is looking after Blended.
Yep.
And your sole focus now is 100% into xrecruiter. Xrecruiter has been going 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that. What's the last 2.5 years been like for you?
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's been a hectic ride. You've been there from the beginning. And I felt like we were planning it 9 months before it even went live as well. So yeah, I don't know how to sum it up. It's been everything. The highs, the lows.
Walk us through maybe one of the most memorable moments of xrecruiter for you.
The most memorable moments of xrecruiter would be the Legacy Awards.
Why?
Well, the most exciting part, I think, why we all get out of bed is the success of the partners. So to have everyone there, the emotion in the room, the speeches, what it all meant to everyone, it was just like insane. Don't you reckon?
Yeah, 100%.
Like it doesn't, like the media and the AFR and the photo shoots, that's all cream on top. But like that night, Matt's speech about Legacy, that was probably the most moving night I think we've all had in business together.
Yeah, 100%.
What about you?
I'd have to say Legacy Awards as well. That was when it felt like super real. Obviously everything feels real, but like when everyone's in the room and they're all celebrating the success, as you say, all together, it's like, oh wow, look at what we've been able to create as a community, which is, I think, super, super special. I've said this a couple of times on like LinkedIn posts, but I genuinely feel the most successful businesses moving forward, small, medium, or large, they will be successful as a foundation because of community. Businesses that push community will be the next big, exciting, sticky, successful businesses. If you don't have a community, or you're not pushing a community, you're not creating or participating in a community, then I think you're kind of missing a trick for the next 10, 20, 30 years as technology evolves and people get less and less close. And like you're an example, you know, you're talking to like ChatGPT and trying to get ideas. Like, you're not talking to other people as much about your ideas because you're talking to ChatGPT. And so I saw this crazy stat the other day that there's like 13 and 14-year-olds that now are having an AI bot as their best friend, and they've got more...
And 32-year-olds.
And 32-year-olds. And there's like this epidemic right now where there's like this child AI bot like ChatGPT for kids that are 13 and 14 years old that gets more traffic and more prompts than ChatGPT at the moment. And it's just kids talking to it about their day and asking how they are, and then telling them how they are as well, and like building genuine relationships with AI. And it's almost, as this continues, the relationships we all have will be less and less with each other and more with the computer. And the biggest difference that I think we will be able to make in the future of business is ensuring community. What about challenges? What are some of the biggest challenges you've had? Like at Blended, you know, you've got hindsight. You wish you were around other people that were high performers. You wish you focused on the metrics that matter. And there's some things that you would have changed. What about the last 2 years? Tell us about the challenges over the last 2 years with xrecruiter. It's a whole different beast. It's completely different to, you know, running Blended, you know, 7 years ago or 6 years ago.
Yep.
So what were the challenges over the last 2 years, reflecting back, and what did you learn from them?
Mate, where do we begin? I think everyone looks at our highlight reel and thinks this has been easy. This has been probably the hardest time I've ever had in business. Never felt so out of my depth, probably up until 8 months ago. But yeah, there's challenges all the time. I think if we actually spoke about them, no one would probably believe us.
Give us one.
How we kept going. Hey?
Give us one.
Probably the biggest one was when I went to Tasha's launch party, and then I just wasn't feeling myself. I felt so out of place. And I've already spoken about this, so I feel comfortable sharing it. But yeah, I felt so out of place. I was like, you know, Matt's here. This guy's a big dog. He's running the show. I'm like, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. It used to be just have a few sales and hang out with partners. And now, like, this guy's a CEO of a 45-person recruitment agency. These partners are building bigger businesses than me and Blake ever built. Like, what the hell's going on here? I don't deserve to be here. And I was just like, I would wake up with like heart palpitations through the night going like, fuck, is this whole thing going to implode? Are people going to find out that I'm not that good at business? And I don't know how to manage anyone. I'm not managing people well. You know, the whole delivery of all the projects didn't go to plan. We're working across split offices, getting into a crappy financial position, didn't get a salary for 18 months, put all our money in. You know, I was living a pretty good life before xrecruiter came about. We just bought a house, just sell our fucking house.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was probably a backlog of all that stuff, never going to anyone, never talking to anyone, probably not even being truly honest to you, just sort of bundling it all up. And then Brody called me out on it. He's like, dude, you're not yourself. What's doing? Like, you're not the Declan that I know. And we obviously got to build a pretty good relationship through doing the coaching and stuff with him. And he's like, you need to fucking man the fuck up and be honest and get help. And I'm like, holy shit, okay. And then I just randomly got onto Audible and found Michael Anderson's book. And then I think I came into the office and I was like, on a Saturday with you. And I think I burst into tears. I was like, mate, this is the problem I've worked out. And you're like, Yeah, I've been trying to tell you that for a while. So that was probably the biggest inflection point. And
you know when you say something and no one listens to you, then they hear it from someone
someone
else. And they finally hear it.
So yeah, I was literally the martyr in the office. Even if you just look up the summary of the book, it was me to a T. Michael's story is that he had the same inflection point. He got punched in the face by his business partner. So lucky that's never happened to us. So yeah, and then it was just like everything added up. I'm like, wow, I'm this stressed. Yeah, my getting more and more grey hairs. I wasn't training, wasn't looking after myself. And it was just a complete wig out. So yeah, from that was probably the most hectic moment. There's obviously a lot more chaotic shit that happened building up to that for that mushroom. You know, and then now looking back, like you just got to get to problems while they're a little problem, not when they're a big problem. And you're like, oh fuck, here we go. And then took Blake's advice again and got a coach for all the areas of life. And I think I'm slowly getting better.
Love that.
What about you?
What about me?
Yeah. What's your biggest?
Over what? xrecruiter?
Yeah. Or do Vendito. We didn't speak about it. What's your biggest takeaway from Vendito? And then we can go to xrecruiter.
So I started Vendito 8 years ago and I had 13, 14 months recruitment experience. I was super grateful that my mum just gave me the same line. Why don't you just do this for yourself? And I never actually considered starting a recruitment agency before, but when she said that, I kind of just thought, I don't think I'm capable to do that. How do you even like get started? And so thankfully my mum's a small business owner and she kind of got the building blocks together for me and then I just cracked on. So that was 8 years ago. I scaled up to a team of like 10 within the first like 6 to 12 months.
That means you're in like the top 8% of businesses for size. Once you get over
five
staff.
Yeah, I didn't stay there. So I think I hired like 4 people in my 3rd month. So I started around November. It was
on your first day in business, go through your phone, start calling people to see if they want to work for you.
I called 4 of the boys. I called Josh, Scott Lehman, Jimmy, and Michael and Horgan, Lockie Horgan. And they were all on comm only.
Fantastic 5. Put them together.
I was like, boys, comm only, 10K cost a seat and 50% comms after 10K. And
how did you come up with that?
I just kind of made it up. I didn't know what I was doing. But it was great because I had a 50K threshold for the month before paying out any comms. So like my net profit for the month was always at least 50K. And it ended up being really good, but not sustainable. You know, everyone was partying. You know, we're 23, 24, partying, being rat bags, not being our best selves. It certainly wasn't a sustainable culture and lifestyle. And so half of the difficulty of getting everyone to be like more reined in was that they were comm only, so they could just basically do whatever they want. And I didn't know how to overcome, well, yeah, I guess I'm not paying you, so you can kind of come and go as you please. You can do whatever you like. It's ultimately up to you. So it was really difficult to get a handle on the culture. But that was a really interesting moment of my life where I was adding people. I was trying to change from comm only to salaries. I think I put everyone on a 45K plus super salary. And then I hired a few more people, 3 or 4 more people on top of that. And I was essentially at one point the only person billing, paying for everyone's salaries. And I was stressed to the max because maybe Josh would do a good month. I would do a good month. There'd be a couple of donuts. There'd
be
like
30 grand in wages.
Oh, it was crazy. Yeah, it was super stressful. And I was running off pure instinct. And there was no systems. There was no processes. There was no, this is how we do things. It was essentially me, my instincts, and my best guess. And so that went okay, but it wasn't a fun moment in life. I think my first 12 months in business was surprisingly quite good because for 6 to 8 months of it was comm-only recruiters. I was making a bit before I had to pay out comms. And then my second year in business was probably the hardest because I had heaps of salaries. I'd grown too quickly. I had heaps of costs that were coming through, and I was going backwards seriously fast. And I couldn't work out why, because I had all these staffs, and I thought having like 10 staff meant I was super successful. And
It looked it.
oh yeah, it looked it, but it was super stressful. It wasn't a good time.
What made it stressful knowing that you weren't as successful as you looked?
Not particularly. I think it was just trying to manage people for the first time.
Oh, you'd never managed anyone either.
No.
You'd never been a captain of a football team. Same.
First time in business. I had 4 months off recruitment because I resigned and went into work for my parents for 3 months and hated it. So you can imagine having like 4 months off work, kind of like not driving a car for 3 months. You drive a car again, you're a little bit awkward and you don't know how to drive properly. It feels a bit uncomfortable. So I started back in recruitment again, and I hadn't like picked up the phone in 4 months. I hadn't ever managed anyone. I've never run a business before. And there was so many things I was trying to figure out for the first time.
That I've never thought about any of those things. I just used to look at you and go, how the fuck is this guy doing it?
Yeah, it was
He's
hard.
got it all worked out.
yeah, it was really hard. And I think, looking back, one of the things that I probably would have changed is I would have taken my processes and systems more seriously, because I was running really hard, but I wasn't running in any sort of direction. And so the thing that I'm realizing now, 7, 8 years on, is you can have a small business and scale just as quickly as long as you have the systems and processes in place, and it can be more predictable, it can be less chaotic, it can be less scary. And if I had my time again, I would really start thinking about, okay, what's my onboarding plan? What's my training plan? What does success look like in 3 months? What does success look like in 12 months? Not just for my staff, but for me as a business owner. Because the only measurement of success I had was how much money we made at the end of the month. And that was it. So it was really quick. Really quickly, I found myself in this spot after 2 or 3 years of like, I'm just cranking massive days, working my ass off. Is this kind of it? Like, at what point can I take a fucking break? And I couldn't, because there was no structure. I didn't get anyone to be a manager. It was just like recruiters reporting to me, billing, and it was the hardest time to run a business like that. So I guess if I could have my time again, I would think about what the business goals are quarterly. I'd have a system, I'd have a process, I'd have an operational rhythm and framework that would help me grow sustainably without the stress that comes with trying to build a business.
Yeah, and it's fortunate that we're in a position we can do that now. But like, what would you suggest to a recruiter? Who would you go to? How would you get this information? If take xrecruiter out of the picture and you're back there and you need that advice, how do you actually get it without?
I think the only I don't know. Like, I don't know where you would get it from, which is why
You never got it.
well, yeah, it's why I never got it, and why we're so passionate about xrecruiter, because we have that for our partners who have a 1 to 2 person business, but they have the operational excellence of a big agency, and they can hire more confidently. They can train their staff and onboard their staff more confidently. They can reduce their turnover. They can know when to hire. Is it, when you have 50 grand in the bank account, or is it when you have a certain amount of clients? Like, all of this stuff is like, you're just shooting in the dark. When you're running a business for the first time and you go, I think I need to hire someone, I'm not sure. I don't know who to hire. I don't know if I've got the money to hire someone. I don't know how my responsibilities change when I do hire someone for the first time. I don't know why anyone would want to join my business, because it's just me. And there's all these like really, really hard points that you've got to think about and overcome. That was a struggle. And it is a struggle. And I think that's why so many recruiters, or small agency owners specifically, they try and scale up to 5 people, and then it's 2. And then it's 6, and then it's 2. Or it's just stuck at 1 or 2. And it's because they don't have this framework. So that would be my biggest lesson is, if I was to start again, I would take it easy. I would I would appreciate the journey and not be so fixated on the goal.
And vanity metrics.
Yeah. Don't consider headcount as your measurement of success. I would consider productivity per person. I think that's the biggest measurement of success for a recruitment agency is how productive on average.
How do you work out
is the
productivity?
Headcount? Well, your total revenue divided by headcount.
Okay.
So if you've got if you're doing $1 million, you've got 3 staff, productivity per person is 333 grand.
But what happens if a director is bringing in 700?
Same thing.
Okay.
Yeah, you just divide it by staff. Maybe you wouldn't put your billings in, depending on circumstances, but if you've got 2 people and you're doing 1.5 mil, you've got a really highly productive small team. Amazing. But if you've got
that's also a massive risk. Like if you have 2 people billing 1.5, one person's responsible for 750K and 50% of the revenue. If they leave or baby.
Well, it is a huge risk, but I guess the measurement of success through any point of scaling is how productive per person is my team.
Yep.
And you could have 10 people and you're bringing in $2 million and your average person productivity is 200 grand. It's like, oh, hang on. So I've got to pay him 90 plus super, plus work cover, plus insurance, like all this.
Maybe we could make a calculator for that.
100%.
That'd be a pretty good tool.
Yeah. So that's what I would focus on, and I wouldn't focus on bums on seats and get my calculator out and go, well, if they technically built 25 grand, I'd make all this money. So let's give them a crack. And that's essentially what the mindset was.
Okay. So as long as you don't focus on likes and impressions on LinkedIn and vanity metrics, you're going to be much more successful than just Declan and Blake.
Exactly.
And then what's the most meaningful moment for you and the biggest, scariest moment that's ever happened at xrecruiter?
I think the most meaningful moment was definitely Legacy Awards. And I don't want to say the same thing and have a bit of a cop out that
we know you don't do that.
Yeah, taking corners, cutting corners here. But Legacy Awards was really, really good. There was 100 people there, heaps of new business owners, heaps of successful new business owners, putting a face to a name, celebrating their wins. Like, it was amazing. Giving out awards. Like, who would have thought that we're giving recruitment agencies awards for doing an amazing job? So I think that was like a really nice moment where I felt like what I'm doing here is making such a positive impact. I've always valued and measured myself on the impact that I can make on others. And a lot of that is trying to take someone from one socioeconomic level to the next. I think that's really powerful. Someone's got this mindset and this lifestyle that's this big, and that's all they know, and showing them that, hey, look at this big mindset and lifestyle. This is possible for you. And they go, wow, I didn't know I was capable of this. I didn't know this was possible. I think that's probably the most special, impactful thing that I can do. And that's what we do every day at xrecruiter.
Yeah, it's crazy. Did you see Maddie's post, summing up February?
Oh,
what the hell?
Just
that happens in
28 days. 28 days, that's what's happened. I would have to say Legacy Awards because it made it all real. What was the scariest moment? I think one of the most challenging moments was our back office drama.
Yeah.
I think that took years off my life. And I know I didn't show it. So for context, we used to use an outsourced team for our payrolling and kind of financial services because we weren't at the size where we could afford to bring in an in-house team yet. So we're outsourcing. I think we're paying $25,000 a month retainer for these services. And it was going well. One day, the owner sat us down and said, hey, the price is going up to $79,000 a month. You guys are doing really well. And you've essentially got 4 days to sign this agreement or we're stopping all services. And at the time, I thought, holy shit, I didn't realize how predatory people can be, especially when you think you've got a good relationship. And so this was at a time where I think Tommy was maybe six months old. So I had to figure out how we can build an internal a payroll and finance team basically overnight, to avoid disrupting the services for our partners.
They were pretty heavily disrupted though.
Oh, huge. And it was really, really stressful. And at that time, my daughter got really sick. My son got really sick.
And we're not talking just normal sick. We're talking really sick.
We're talking super sick.
Hospital multiple times.
4 viruses, in hospital for a week. Shortly after, had an anaphylactic response. My daughter was extremely sick too. Like, I've got photos on my phone where, like, Tommy can't even open his eyes. His eyes are essentially like shut. He had rhinovirus. He had conjunctivitis. He had pneumonia. He had influenza C, and all at the same time, 6 months old. So he was absolutely cooked. Couldn't eat. They had to keep shoving stuff down his nose and try and feed him because he wouldn't swallow. But his nose was so blocked that they couldn't do it. So they tried like 4 times. So a little 6-month-old just screaming as they're just trying to shove stuff down his throat is not a vibe. So my son's really sick. My daughter's really sick. My missus really sick. I had this like mission critical moment at xrecruiter.
Was it the Armageddon moment?
And we were getting investigated for labor. And like it almost felt like every part of my life.
And I'm just running around wigging out. Going, what the fuck?
Yeah, it felt like every part of my life was like challenging me. And I'm calling Arnie. And I just remember calling Arnie and going, Arnie, mate, I have got pains in my chest right now and I don't know how to like see clearly. And, you know, I used to have calls with Arnie, and because he's such just like a calm man. Like as soon as you speak to him, you feel like everything's okay. And so that was really, really challenging for me. That was like a 6 to 8 week period. But it's always darkest before dawn. And that ended up being an amazing moment for me where I felt like I earned my role at xrecruiter, because everything felt like beforehand it went pretty well. Like I had good momentum, signing people up. Yeah, there was a few challenges here and there, but like there's no challenge we can't overcome. But this was probably one of the most significant because of so many things happening all at the same time, where I thought, okay, Blake, this is an opportunity where you can test out your perseverance and your resilience. Just, you would go home was a fucking shit show. Couldn't sleep, trying to look after your son, emotionally drained because you're like your kids and your partner's really, really sick. I don't know how I didn't get sick. I think I was, but I just
didn't register.
I couldn't bear getting sick. And so I think that was probably one of the most challenging. But in hindsight, it was probably an experience that money can't buy that I'm actually really grateful for.
And mate, like at the end of that, remember the huge loss as well?
Oh, that's right. And we lost $300,000. We had a client put on 30, 40 contractors and go insolvent the next day when we asked them to pay their bill. And yeah, lost $300,000. So yeah, I mean, lost $300,000 under investigation. Obviously that's all good now, because of, you know, some nasty people trying to throw rocks at us. And yeah, having to build a payroll team, trying to make sure that there's no disruption to our service, kids sick. It was, it was a lot.
Partners were not happy.
And I'm so grateful.
They didn't give up on us.
Yeah. Like that's the one thing that I think is our superpower is community, because we're running a business that no one's ever run before for the first time ever. And we're just trying to do our best. And so are our partners. So our partners are running a business never done before. They're just trying to do their best as well. And I think what's so special is we're all in the same boat together. So I'm super grateful for our partners that turned around and we're
rallied
just like,
together.
Yeah, they're like, all right, it's mission critical moment at the moment. let's all get together, figure out how we're going to solve this. We need to make sure xrecruiter's all good. We need to make sure we're all good. And we all got together and solve the problem. And I don't know of any scenarios of other businesses where they've gone to their clients, hey, this is our issue, and all the clients have gotten together and fixed the issue.
I've only heard one with On It, Joe
On It?
Rogan's, their supplement company.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay, and they didn't get their shipment in time. So they went to their customers, and their customers paid for all their products, and then said, we'll deliver them later.
Yeah.
But that's like that company sold to Unilever. So pretty special guys if Joe Rogan's involved, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was, that wasn't fun, having to face Jory every day at CrossFit, being like, hey mate, how you going? And we're working through it. So, but yeah, that was a hectic couple of months.
Yeah. So where are we at now?
Mate, I think the sun is shining. It's a really exciting time. We've actually got a full team now. All services are completely in-house. They have been for months. And then now we've got 90% of the team is there for partner support. Like, it's just me and Ed in sales. Everyone else is there to ensure the success of all partners. We're bringing literally the best people in the country together. Like, every time we hire, everyone gets better. You can tell the environment in 2025 in the office is way different to Declan's baseball caps, sneakers and shorts and t-shirts. It's I feel like we're going to a whole new level together as a team.
Yeah. It's exciting when partners that joined us a year and a half, 2 years ago, say to us, like, I think we've had maybe 5 or 6 people have reached out to me in the last couple of weeks saying, I cannot believe how much xrecruiter has leveled up since we first joined. Because xrecruiter 2 years ago, it was a bit of a thought. We were stumbling around trying to figure shit out. We didn't have our shit down on lock. We didn't even know what our responsibilities were as leaders. We were severely understaffed and
running out of money.
$0, bootstrapped, just trying to figure it all out. And we had I don't know what it was specifically, but we had a decent amount of recruiters just totally put their faith in us. And it's a funny throwaway line that, we joke about with H people around, just trust us. I sometimes don't like it when you say that to me. I'm like, bro, of course I trust you, but don't use that as a point to overcome an objection. But H people being our first labour hire recruiters to join us, and we had no idea about labour hire. And it was they're like, oh, are you sure, guys, we're going to be okay? We're like, yeah, boys, just trust us. And that was literally how we signed them up. And they say to us all the time, they're like, just trust us, brother. Look at where we are now. Hey, just trust us. And it's just so nice to be able to build those relationships with recruiters and help them on their journey, and they help us on ours, and we're all working together. So
it's crazy.
All right, the full 180. I'm not sure what that means. Double down. Who are you thankful for?
You.
Thank you, mate.
Serge, Ryan, you guys are in the room, so you come straight to mind. But mate, Maddie, everyone is I think we were still getting our shit together when I remember meeting Matt Cossins in the cafe, the bottom part of this expensive apartment he was staying at, and I'm sitting there and I'm downplaying xrecruiter, and I think he got into it and did the first few sessions. He's like, oh mate, this is pretty good, love the partners, blah blah blah. And I think the biggest tipping point to xrecruiter was him putting his balls on the line. And you speak to a lot of recruiters about him when he's not around, and they've got a lot of really good shit to say. And for him to put his whole career essentially on the line in regards to me and you, it was a pretty bold move on his part. You look at the team before he came on board. I think it was Ryan. Wasn't it you, me, and Logan, and maybe who else was there? Taryn and Chloe and Sammy. Yeah, I remember even some meetings with shout out to Sammy too, sticking through it for the first couple of years. I remember sitting in there and they're like, so boys, you need to put more money in. You're probably going to lose 135 grand this month. And I'm like, holy fuck. What do we need to do? You need to improve partner performance and get more signups. And I'm like, oh shit. So like going through that was like crazy times. And Sammy's like, yeah, you just got to keep going, boys. I'm like, that's easier for you to say. This is like everything's on the line here. And then so, but yeah, fortunately enough, like we just kept cracking on. So yeah, they was, you know, those founding people that believed in us when we had nothing. I think, how did you get the job, Ryan? Blake hit you up on LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn approach.
Yeah. Approach you on LinkedIn. You're working for your mum. And then you've brought two amazing mates to the team in Tyler and Xavier, and Serge is on board, and like the creative team that like we market better than, you know, in our little backlog of analytics, we go up against acquisition.com and Ryan Serhant. Like that's who we want to compete with in marketing. So to be able to do those things and it's the whole team, mate. I wish I had a list of everyone here, but I think also our Deanna and Kat as well. I know I'm not easy to be around. So the fact Deanna's put up with this the whole time and said, yeah, let's do it. Maybe sometimes I can overshare and stresses her out. So maybe learning that off you. But yeah, that'd be heaps of people, mate. Like Arnie, Michael, Ryan Tuckwood, the OG partners, Jimmy, Crystal.
Yep. Heaps. Love that.
Harwell boys.
Well, I think that's a really good tie off.
What about you?
What about me?
Yeah.
I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for our team. I'm grateful for, and I don't talk about him too much, but I'm grateful for Amy and Lexi. Amy and Lexi have really manned up at Vendito, become partners, are responsible for the P&L, responsible for growing a team. And you're right, when we're at this moment where it's like, oh, you lost 100 grand this month. Oh, you lost 200 grand this month. Oh, you lost another 150 grand this month. And we're sitting there scratching our heads thinking, fucking hell, we lost 500 grand in the last 3 months. Like, what do we need to do to turn this around? And, you know, a really big lever to pull was Vendito and the girls just doing so well and just sucking every dollar out of Vendito to keep xrecruiter going was amazing, because I had a good team at Vendito that I could rely on, even though I wasn't billing myself. So I think if it wasn't for Amy and Lexi performing at Vendito, I think things might be. Yeah, I think things would be a little bit different, especially in the first kind of like year and a half. So I'm super grateful for Amy and Lexi. Grateful for my family too. My family's always an awesome sounding board to keep me balanced and sane and simple, and to keep my perspective right. Obviously Dee's been a big supporter of you, and I think you two work really well together. She's decked out our office. And like everyone's impressed with the office.
She got kicked out of her own office.
She got kicked out of her own office. Yep. Obviously the team, and you're right about Matt Cossins. Like Matt Cossins joined xrecruiter when we didn't really have that many runs on the board. I think we had 4 billing partners.
Really?
Yeah.
We made out like we had 400.
Yeah, I know. I think we had 4 to 5 billing partners, I think. And when we were talking to Matt in, I don't know, I think it was like February last year, roughly. And he's talking to us about his salary and how much he earns.
I didn't realise we could get paid that much as a base.
Man, I sat there and I was like, oh, this is not happening. And yeah, shout out to Matt Cossins, because not only has he leveled up xrecruiter significantly since he's joined, from both an authority, a credibility, and just a professionalism standpoint, but he
brought a lot of people in.
Brought a lot of really good people in. He knows a lot of really good people, but he did put his own reputation on the line to join xrecruiter. If we were just rat bags and weren't living up to the values and ethics that Matt has, like it would be not career destroying, but it would be pretty disappointing. And so he's really taken a big punt on us. So for Matt, I'm super grateful because he brings so much value that we wouldn't have had otherwise. And I feel like Matt joining has snowballed to then Taryn, to the next person, and then to Ed, and And so I think that was a really big game changer for us. So I'm super grateful for that. And I'm just grateful for the journey. I think the longer I'm in business, it's been 8 years now and I'm still learning every single day. I think the longer I'm in business, the more I realize it's the journey that matters, not the destination.
Yeah, but you can't understand that. But you know, when I'd see Gary Vee say that, he's like, enjoy the journey. I'm like, mate, I'm fucking broke. Not seeing any of my friends. I don't see my kids. This journey fucking sucks.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. It's really hard to see.
I can say it now because I'm like, this is the best journey ever. The impact, the development. But yeah, when you're in there and you're getting that advice, and that's why obviously you only get advice at different times. It means different things.
Okay, so you need to get to a threshold where the journey becomes enjoyable. And it's really, really difficult in the first couple of years because it's not about the journey, it's about survival. And so you can't sit there and be like, oh, this is a great journey when you're trying to survive. So once you get out of survival mode and you have your processes in place, you have your operational rhythm, you have your tech sorted, you've got clarity on where the business is going beyond just how much money a month are we making, and there's a sensible plan and kind of roadmap, that's when the journey gets really good. When you start a recruitment agency, there is no journey. It's like bill, go home, bill, go on holiday, bill, buy a new car, bill a bit more, maybe hire some staff, maybe bill a bit more. And it's like, it's not fun. Like, it's okay and it's a better quality of life than most others. But the big missing link with recruitment agencies is there's no actual plan. There's no plan to like be a better business, market better, upskill, onboard better, train better. Well, at least I know for most recruitment agencies I've ever spoken to, which is why it's really hard to get from like 0 to 5 recruiters, then to 10 to 20 recruiters, and then to 20 to 100 recruiters. It's really difficult because there's no plan. It's just like you're starting, you're billing, and then that's your life. So I think the journey, the really key part is
that's true.
The journey is about having hope at the, like what you're building towards, what you're going towards, and not just living month by month. And you can't enjoy that journey until you've got a plan. So I love the fact that we've got a plan at xrecruiter because the journey is enjoyable. And we're like, oh, this is the journey that we're going on. Let's design our life around this journey and figure out how to get that balance right. But when you've got no plan, no journey, no future perception, like everything that happens in the moment, you're hypersensitive to because like there's no bigger picture. So maybe that's a key takeaway. Get a plan together so you can enjoy your journey and not just be scarcity and wigging out all the time.
Yep.
Great. Well, I think this has been a really good episode. I hope everyone has enjoyed that. Bit of a trip down memory lane. Declan and I just talking about our journey and what we've learned over the last couple of years. I think it's nice to sit down and just reflect, talk about this stuff, if not for anyone, but for ourselves. Because
good therapy session.
Great therapy session. So look, if you're a recruiter and you're wanting to take the next step in your career and you don't know what that step is, it might be worth reaching out to Declan or Ed. They can talk to you about a sensible plan, whether that's introduce you to a really high-performing agency that you'll get lots of growth out of, whether that's starting your own business. There's nothing off the table. Like we're here to help, whether that's increasing your billings. Whatever that is, we're super motivated and committed to trying to add value to the industry and change the industry statistics from typically what is a really hard industry to be a part of. So if this has resonated with you, drop us a message on LinkedIn. Declan is very active on Instagram these days, so he'll definitely hit you up if you're following his Instagram profile. We'd love to chat to you and help make it happen.
Yeah, and also like shout out to another couple of people, Chris Bryden and Lisa Angland, part of the OG crew as well. So look what they've done in business. They're 12 months in, so it's an exciting journey. And always, thanks my sister and my mum for being there and being a sounding board a lot of the times too.
Good sesh.
Thanks, Blake.
Love it. Thanks, Deck. Thanks for tuning in to another Confessions of a Recruiter podcast with Blake and Declan. We hope you enjoyed and got a lot of value and insights out of this episode. If you do have any questions or you would like to recommend someone to come on the Confessions podcast, we would love any introductions. And remember the rule of the podcast: like, share, and recommend it to a friend. Until next time.